Good morning, or, as the case may be, good afternoon. I am Steve Strauss, Senior USA Today Small Business Columnist and author of the Small Business Bible. And I am here today with Jennifer Warawa, Global Vice President for Product Marketing for Sage. And today we're going to be talking about something I certainly write and talk a lot about, and we're all in this world talking a lot about, and that is the office of the future, the changing nature of work. You know, every year at my USA Today column, to start the year, I do a top trends in business, top trends in small business column. This year, out of the top 5, this topic that we're talking about today, the changing nature of work, the office of the future, came in 3 different times in 3 different ways. So it's certainly an important topic and something that we are all thinking about. And what we're hoping is that today, with our discussion, that we help you not only navigate this new world, but in fact be able to thrive in it. And we'd certainly love for you to participate in it, in our discussion. You can participate by asking questions. You can go to Twitter and use the hashtag SageAdvice. That's hashtag SageAdvice. Or you can go to the Google Hangouts page and use this sge.bz/Office Future Hangout. And that's all lowercase. Let me give that to you one more time. sge.bz/Office Future Hangout. We'd love for you to ask a question, participate, join in. Thanks for being here with us. So let's get started. Jennifer, let me ask you a question. I mean, there are, as I said, so many different trends going on in the world of work, in the office today. What are the macro trends that you're seeing right now?
Yeah, we're seeing a number of trends that are really shaping that office of the future of work. You know, certainly one that comes up a lot is around the changing workforce. So when you think about the fact that in the next 20 years, about 70 million baby boomers are going to retire, we're going to see an entirely different workforce taking over and dominating, really around those experienced millennials and Gen X and Gen Z employees. So we were looking at, Adecco put out a 2015 Way to Work survey, and just looking at what the expectations are from millennials and those Gen Z employees, and really they have an entirely different set of priorities and perspectives. And those really need to be taken into consideration when you're thinking about this changing workforce. Both generations expect different things, like a focus from their employers around community, focus on gratification, and really around feedback. They really want that transparent, open dialogue with their employer. Another trend that we've seen that's really big is just around entirely new behaviors. And you think about social technologies and this really collaborative economy and how different things are than they were even just 5 years ago. So you think about Uber, I mean, you're basically getting into a car with a stranger, if you will, that you don't know, that you found in an app, which is very interesting. You know, you think about all the personal information that you put out on Facebook and how it allows you to stay really connected with all of your contacts, your whole work histories on LinkedIn, on Twitter. You're collaborating, you're communicating, in some cases complaining, and it's this open social behavior. And I think what's so interesting is it's changed the way that people communicate. I know in my role, it's very common for me, you know, I serve accountants and small and medium-sized business owners in my role at Sage, and it's very common for me to get a direct message on Twitter or a Facebook instant message. You know, people they have a different way of communicating, and it just has this entirely different culture that changes the way that you work.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely no shortage in ways to communicate these days and to share what we think and to get a hold of employees. That is certainly true. And this thing that you mentioned, by the way, about demographics, that was one of my top trends as well. And this idea that a whole generation, the baby boomers are leaving and millennials are starting businesses. In fact, in the workforce, there are more millennial business owners than there are now baby boomer business owners. And so that's just a change in attitude. I see a couple other big trends that I think make a big difference. One is, of course, the mobile adoption. I mean, employees expect these days to be able to work when and where and how they want. And that may be that they're going to be in the office, but just as often and just as likely, they're not going to be in the office. And they're going to be expecting, especially this younger workforce, to be able to work, at a Starbucks or at home or on vacation if that's what they want or if that's what their employer wants. So the idea that mobile adoption has changed business, it has changed business. It's changed your business, it's changed my business, and anyone watching, it's changed all of our businesses, and it's going to continue to do so. And by the same token, another big trend I'm seeing, of course, is globalization. In fact, the last book I wrote was called Planet Entrepreneur. I mean, this idea of entrepreneurship and globalization, we've heard about it for quite some time, ever since, I guess, Thomas Friedman wrote The World is Flat, and that was back in 2000. But globalization means that you can find employees now, or staff members, or contractors anywhere in the world. Teams are remote now. This too is changing the nature of work. The idea that we're all going to go to an office and sit down and work with the same people 9 to 5, 5 days a week, gone. It's a global, interconnected, mobile-savvy workspace. Do you see any other trends that we should know about before we move on?
Yeah, I think that probably one that I would wrap with is just really around smart technology. And so it's amazing now. Sometimes you can even get into a car and say, wow, this car has more intelligence than a computer did, a number of years ago. It's incredible how much they know, and you're checking on your car from your mobile app on your phone, which is amazing. So I think that technology is really changing the way that we do business. There's internal and external social networks. So people expect this real-time collaboration. You've probably been the recipient of one of those phone calls where someone says, I sent you an email, I didn't hear back, I want to make sure everything's okay. And you say, well, when did you send it? And they say, well, like 3 minutes ago. And it's like, well, give me 5 maybe to get back to you. So it has this constant communication instead of, wait 3 or 4 days for a response. I think that cloud computing puts information and data at everybody's fingertips anytime, anywhere, and that changes decision-making process, because now instead of having to wait for information, you have exactly what you need at the time a decision's being made, which really drives your business in a different way. I think about wearables, that's becoming a huge trend as well when it comes to smart technology. You see a lot of people looking at their smart watches, their Apple Watch. Actually, someone that I know recently got a ticket at a red light because they were looking at their watch, which of course was an Apple Watch.
Wow.
But there's a little bit of a debate between the police officer and the person. Were you checking your email? And no, I was just checking the time. So there's a little bit of a debate there, but those wearables are becoming a huge trend. And then I think it's around this big data and analytics. And how do you use smart technology to make sense of it all? Because there's a lot of information out there. I think that I saw a stat the other day that about 1% of all of the data is actually, kind of translated into information that's usable by business owners. There's a lot of information out there. So it's really about enabling businesses to be able to move faster and run their businesses in a smarter way. But how do you use all that smart technology to work smarter? And I think that's a question that's posed to many business owners now.
Well, in fact, let's drill down into that question right now. Say many intelligent employees are small businesses, and my readers, people watching today are small businesses. What is a company that is focused on employees? I'm hearing a little.
So unfortunately, you cut out for that question. So I am a good lip reader, but not quite that good. So I'd be able to ask you. You were just a little garbled there.
So let's try it again. That's better.
That's better.
We're hearing a little echo, but what does a workplace on the employee experience like? We want to be employers.
I think that you've heard a lot of discussion around the fact that the experience that your customers have when they call in or they come into your business is a real direct reflection of the overall employee experience and how satisfied and happy your employees and colleagues are in their jobs. And so you want that employee experience to be brilliant because you want your customers to have the same brilliant experience that your employees are. I think it's multifaceted in how that employee experience can be a great one. I think it's about technology. I think there's an aspect around the overall physical environment. I think there's a piece around the culture that you create. I think that sometimes people think there's a quick fix, like we've heard a lot about open office environments, and sometimes people think, well, if I take down the walls and make it really open and collaborative, I've solved the problem. But that really is just the beginning. And so how do you actually start to create that culture of collaboration where people feel like they can really work smarter? And I think people really want to have an environment where they feel like they can innovate, where they're empowered, where they're connected, and they have the right tools they need to do their job. So it goes beyond just a quick fix like, taking down office walls, making an open collaborative environment. It's really about shifting that culture and making sure that they have the tools and are able to do their job the best way that they can.
Well, I think this idea of culture is so important, and certainly that's what I think about when we talk about creating a great employee experience. I saw a survey not long ago of the best small businesses in California, and what do they have in common? What do those small business owners have in common? Was it that they were great at advertising and marketing, or was it that they had great locations, or what was their secret sauce? And the most interesting thing was that what these great business places had, these great small businesses had, and that is they had low turnover and they made good money and they had high satisfaction rates for customers and employees. What they had in common was the boss was a great boss. He treated his employees well. And it makes sense, I guess, if you think about it. You treat your employees well, they're going to be happy. They're going to treat your customers well, and your customers are going to be happy, and happy customers are repeat customers. So maybe the secret is what we're talking about, and that is creating a great culture, taking care of your employees, giving them the tools they need to run their business and to do their jobs in a modern way, and as a result, we're going to have a happy, great workspace and happy, great employees and staff and customers. So, one idea I've been hearing a lot about, and this is a really interesting idea, is that you want your small business, you want your organization to be a lab and not a factory. Now, that's a kind of a new idea, and I really like it. I wonder, Jennifer, if you could, explain that a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm with you. It is a bit of a newer concept, but I've been seeing it more, especially in social networks or in online forums. And I love the concept because when you think about a lab, you think about innovation, you think about new ideas, you think about society-changing products, and you just think about all of these great concepts coming to life. And so I think a lab is really exciting. When you think about a factory, you think more of a production line and just cranking out volume, and it's more about production and distribution than it is about that innovation. And I think when you're going back to what we were talking about earlier around the changing workforce and the next generation of workforce, they're looking to make a difference. They really want to be able to bring that innovation and those new ideas to the office, and they want to see them come to life. So if you have that lab environment where your employees and your colleagues feel empowered to bring new ideas and try new things, I think you can have, that can actually really shape your culture as to what we were talking about earlier. So I think that, it's really important to obviously measure success. It's not about people just going off like the Wild West and creating, new things, and there's no accountability for results. Mm-hmm. But that culture of innovation is where you could find some really great ideas in your own business lab. And it doesn't matter what kind of business, whether you're in retail or services business or technology, innovation and this lab culture can really happen anywhere.
Yeah, it's fun, and I think small businesses especially are a prime place to act more as a lab than as a factory, right? Because there isn't that big bureaucracy. It isn't difficult to change the culture because it comes so easy from the boss to employees, and everyone tries to work the same way. So with fewer rules and a more relaxed atmosphere, certainly a small business can lend itself to being a more innovative, creative place, more of a lab atmosphere. And I'm wondering then if, what can a small business do to embrace, I guess, what would be top-down transparency? I mean, if what we want is for our employees to be creative and to adopt new technologies and to be more open and to share and to work collaboratively across different platforms, well, then I think we as leaders probably have to embrace that as well and show that we're willing to change and try new ideas as well. I mean, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think when you think about I will call it maybe the old way of working, you think about kind of all these secrets and secret information that is kind of kept locked up in the back office. And then there's all the people out running the business, meeting with the customers. And one of the concepts we've been talking a lot about at Sage is just kind of smashing down the silos between the front office and the back office and just having this one office concept. And I think the idea of that, we did a multi-year study around what makes the most successful businesses as successful as they are, and a lot of that has to do with the data and information they share with everyone else in the business. And it's a cultural shift for many business owners because they're used to not necessarily sharing the numbers or the revenue or the profitability of the business. So it's almost like these trade secrets, but it's amazing when you start to share that with your organization and everybody understands how they contribute to the success of the business, how you actually start to see performance go up, you start to see revenue and profitability increase. And so I think it's about being more transparent. I mean, obviously you're not going to go and say, here's everybody's salary information, just see what you think. I mean, you're not going to necessarily share everything. But
you can't share everything, right?
Yeah, no, I think it's just making sensible decisions, but I think just being more transparent. And for that next gen up-and-coming workforce, they want to feel like they're part of the business. They're not just the people that are out grinding away day to day, that they're actually seeing how it's translating into results, and they want to be part of the solution. So when you're sharing that information, they feel like you have confidence in them, you're being transparent, they're part of this leadership group. And really, that can be everybody in the business can be part of the leadership team. So I think it's, I think it's really important to be transparent with the data. I also think it's that's kind of your head. It's the data and the numbers part of it. But I also think there's a kind of that heart and feeling piece and being transparent with what's most important to you. So your passion. If you own a business, and I asked one of your employees, why did your boss get into business? Do they know the answer? A lot of times they're like, I have no idea. I don't even know why they come every day. I don't know if they enjoy it. But sharing your passion and that what gets you excited about this business in the morning can really rub off on employees. So just being transparent about how you're feeling, why you got into this business in the first place can make a great impact.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point, this idea of sharing your passion. I mean, people work for all sorts of reasons. Of course, one reason people work is because they want to make money. Of course, we all want to make money. That's great. But people work for all sorts of different reasons, and especially, I think, younger employees are looking, one, to increase their talents, right, to sharpen their saw, as you were, or to just feel that they're making a difference in the work that they're doing. So, if you're a small business owner, you created this business for a reason. There was something you were really, really passionate about, or you never would have done it, because it's a lot of hard work to start a business. So whatever that passion is, I think Jennifer's point is so well taken, that you should also share that passion with the people that you're working with and get them excited and find out what their passion is, find out what they want to learn, and have it be a two-way street. That's really what works in this kind of new economy, in this new world of work. Not just top down, but back and forth. So you find out what they think, you find out what they're passionate about, you find out what they want to do, what they want to learn, and you, to the extent you can as a small business owner, give that. And then you share what you need and what you want, and they'll take that, and I think that's what's going to work for everybody. Now, that said, one of the trends I mentioned at the top was this idea of globalization, right? That talent isn't just in your city. One of the great things about being in business today is that you are not stuck in your own little area, and if the economy is good, that's great, and if the economy is bad, oh, that's too bad. That's not how it is anymore. We're living in an interconnected, global, 24/7 world where you can sell online to anywhere in the world, and you have access to talent anywhere in the world. One of the things I saw that happened as a result of the not-so-great recession, as I like to call it, was a lot of people lost their jobs, and then employers realized they didn't have to hire a lot of these people back as full-time employees. That's one of the bad things that happened. But what also happened that was good was that a lot of these employees realized they don't have to work crummy jobs for crummy bosses, and so they became independent contractors. You can find this kind of talent anywhere. There must be a lot of benefits, I think, from your perspective, Jennifer, as with regard to finding distributed talent, anywhere, really, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, the good news, you were talking about the good news and the bad news side of things. I think the good news is that talent is now anywhere and everywhere, but the flip side of that is that competition is now anywhere and everywhere. So in the previous world, you'd be competing with people in your own area for a job. Now you're competing with people from all around the world. So you kind of need to up your game as far as, how do you differentiate yourself when you're applying for a job or when you're looking for the right person to work in your business. So I think it is important that it's not necessary, especially with technology. When I think about this Google Hangout, and we're all in different locations. I know there's people watching from Hawaii, for example, and I think it's just amazing that you can bring all these people together through technology. So with that collaborative environment and being able to feel like you're collaborating and communicating and connected through technology, you don't need someone to be in the same office as you. So we kind of went from that being in the same office to maybe they could work from home when you're down the street to now they can be anywhere in the world. And so it does allow you to access talent that maybe you couldn't have before. I mean, there might be a great person who's an ideal fit for your company, but they work in a remote location and they just don't want to move to the big city. Well, now you can use that talent for your business. You can hire the right person for the right job for the right time frame. So I think it's really taking advantage of the fact that technology really connects the globe. It really is incredible, the opportunities, as you said before, as the world has become flat.
One book I also like is this book called The 4-Hour Workweek by Timothy Ferriss. Now, I could never figure out how to work 4 hours a week. I'm not sure I would want to. But the ideas in the book are really fantastic, and I would suggest people pick up that book because if you want to figure out some ways to use these different technologies that we're talking about and to really adapt to this new world of work, in that book, The 4-Hour Workweek, there's some great ideas. One is, what Timothy Ferriss did is he thought, what's my biggest time waster? Well, my biggest time waster is email. And I know for a lot of us, I won't say it's a time waster, but it is certainly, something that we spend a lot of time on. And he figured out a way to hire someone overseas to help him sort through his email and cut his email time during the day from maybe 2 hours a day to 15 minutes. So there is a lot of help that is distributed overseas that you can get help with whatever your needs are, whatever tools, whatever projects you have that you might need help on. Boy, check it out. It really is kind of amazing. I guess, Jennifer, what we've been talking about overall is this idea of technology and smart technology. So I'm wondering, here, you work for Sage, you work for one of the great technology companies. How can a small business person, someone watching today, make smart technology strategies work for them?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I spend a lot of time in businesses watching the way that they work. I think there's a lot to be learned by spending time with your customers and your prospects and understanding their businesses. And what we see a lot of the time is really, really smart, brilliant people doing things that can be automated or better done by technology, to be honest. So it's not about displacing you or replacing your job with a computer. It's about figuring out how do you free yourself up to do higher value work that you're capable of doing and that you're passionate about, and start to automate some of those lower value tasks. So I think there's a few ways you can do that. I mean, obviously leveraging some of the business applications that are out there today to automate and connect everything that you can to save duplication of work, duplication of effort, and that low value activity. I think it's about giving your team members visibility into what's going on in the business. We talk about that transparency and opening up that dialogue, and then figuring out how do you use smart technology to run your business more efficiently. We were meeting with a CPA, and I said, what do you want to accomplish in the next year? And he said, next year I just don't want to send Christmas cards to dead people. And I was like, okay. And he said, no. He said, basically, I just don't have a handle on my customer base. I don't know who's moved. Some people I haven't engaged with in years, and we just keep going through the same motion. So what that ended up translating to is they needed to implement a CRM system to actually start better managing their customers. But it's about translating those business needs into solutions that can be delivered by technology. And then I think just the final piece around that technology is you can have a lot of smart technology, but it's about making sure that your business model really is designed in a way that takes advantage of the smart technology and puts it to work. So just really, if it frees you up from doing a low value task, making sure that you redeploy your time on something that really is higher value.
I think that is such a good point. I mean, one thing I know from working with big companies is, whether it's Sage or other large companies, is that they spend a lot of time, you spend a lot of time thinking about small business and thinking about how to create tools and products to help their small business customers succeed. I mean, I think people don't quite realize that. You get a new piece of technology, you get a new piece of software, an app, whatever it is, and you learn the basics, but maybe you don't dive any deeper into it. And so one technology thing I think that people should know that really makes a difference is, one, there's a lot more out there than you probably realize. Just taking some time to research the different tools that are available for small business specifically, the different apps that are out there, the programs that are out there, boy, it's really amazing. And then spending the time necessary to learn them. Don't just learn the top 5 bells and whistles, but spend a little time learning it. Boy, you're going to really be happy you did, because there's a lot built into them, because as I said, these companies think about us a lot, want to create tools for us that are really easy, and if we spend some time learning them, we're going to be better off for it. And I know, Jennifer, Sage has, I'm just talking about so many products. How could Sage, for example, help small businesses in this way?
Yeah, I think when you're looking at some of the trends we talked about earlier, you think about the changing workforce and just the need for this next generation to have that smart technology. We think about those new behaviors and just a much more social, collaborative environment. We've been looking at all of these trends and just creating solutions that help leverage all of these trends so you can be freed up to run the business that you're most passionate about running. And so one example of that is Sage Live, which is a product that we built on the Salesforce App Cloud. And it just really helps enable businesses to automate everything possible. So they're spending their time on what's most important to them. So it allows them to have transparent sharing of company data through mobile devices and kind of do that business from the palm of your hands, if you will. So you can certainly get more information by visiting the sage.com website or Googling Sage Live. And it's really about combining that social, mobile, next generation accounting solution with some of the power of Salesforce.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Sage Live is a great spot and a great tool, and people I think would be smart to check it out. So I see we're running out of time. I don't know where the time goes so fast when we do these things. But Jennifer, before we go, I'd love if you could give people a parting tip, the biggest takeaway that you think is important. What do you think people need to know?
Yeah, I think for me, my one tip would be to set time aside for planning. And I think what happens, we just celebrated, the start of a new year, and next thing you know, we'll be celebrating the start of 2017, and time just goes really quickly. So it's about, you're not going to end up with a bunch of free time where you're like, oh, we should do some planning right now. So it's actually purposefully setting that aside and saying, how am I going to make my business future ready? How am I going to take advantage of some of these trends and really come up with a compelling strategy that's going to make sure that I'm successful for the long term? So just really setting that purposeful time aside to do planning.
I think that's great. Again, I think the tip I would leave people with is, embrace technology. I think these days, you can't just be an entrepreneur. You can't just be a small business owner. As we've been talking about, we're here in the office of the future. The office of the future is here now. And so you have to be one part techno geek, 2 parts entrepreneur. You embrace your inner geek, and I think you'll be a lot happier. Your office will be happier, your staff will be happier, and your business will grow as a result. So we're out of time. I want to thank Jennifer Warawa, the Global Vice President for Product Marketing, for being with us today. Jennifer, great to have you here.
Thanks, Steve. It's been a lot of fun.
And I'm Steve Strauss. On behalf of Sage, thanks for stopping by. And until next time, thanks for growing your business.